I want to share with you why I believe creative collaboration is such an amazing and powerful tool to have at your fingertips. And I want to dispel this feeling of anxiety that many of us have, myself included sometimes, when we think, okay, to join forces and pair up with another individual or a group of people can seem really intimidating, and it kind of brings us to reflect on our own creative practice and start evaluating it from the perspective of an outsider. So it can trigger all sorts of feelings of, am I good enough? And will other people like what I have to share? Will people be interested? So lots of feelings around self-worth and any doubts or worries that you have underlying can be brought to the surface. So rather than feeling limited by this potential of creating something with someone else, we can see it as a really great opportunity not only to do something that's out with our comfort zone, but maybe to learn something new, maybe also to receive some feedback and constructive criticism from someone else. So that is something that I'm going to be unpacking a little bit more as well. Not only creating with other people and experiencing the benefit of that, but also sharing your work and how you can do this in a way that opens a space for dialogue and discussion about what you're creating. Because ultimately, whether it's a song, a drawing, something that you have put time and energy into, think of it like a piece of art. It's a part of you that you've given energy to, and it can be really triggering to think about showing that to someone, let alone asking them for their opinion and what they think about it. So we will talk a little bit about that as well. So yeah, creative collaboration. How can we set a safe space for us to share ideas and work on, say, a project or a specific task with someone? So this is where you might want to go back to the Vocal Fire video, and there is some information there about songwriting prompts and route ways into that. There's also a link to another video using improvisation as a tool to help you in your songwriting process. So you might want to make reference to those first before you begin a collaboration process with someone else, just so that you have some starting points to support you along the way. Maybe you have someone in mind that you want to create something with, so you would be very welcome to share that information with them as well. Maybe it'll give them some ideas. And choosing that person can be a really interesting journey in itself, because when we are sharing our sound and our voices and we are developing our confidence in that process of inviting someone else to engage and participate with that and respond to it, we might feel more comfortable to start with friends, close friends, or family members, but equally, there is huge advantage to pairing up with people that we don't know so well, because there is a lack of context there. The person that doesn't know you so well won't be able to pick up on all of your cues and tell necessarily whether you feel anxious. And I've done a few songwriting retreats where we've been given tasks to pair up with someone else to go off and write a song together, and it's always amazing what comes out of that, because there's usually some factor that is limiting you, like a time pressure. Okay, go away for a couple of hours and write a song and come back. But then there's also the added pressure of sharing that in a space with other people, performing it perhaps, and something about not knowing that person intimately puts you both at a level playing field with each other. So that's also something to bear in mind. But for now, let's assume that you have a friend or maybe someone in your family that you don't feel is going to be too critical or create barriers to your creative process by being a sibling or being a parent, but someone that you can resonate with and feel relaxed around is a good start. And engage them with the idea, okay, how do you feel about creating something together? And a song can be a really nice introduction into a shared space, because there are so many different aspects to writing songs and crafting them that there is definitely something that suits every kind of individual. Some people are very visual, some people like words, some people are more into feeling and sensation. So whatever your preferred approach or medium is, there are always going to be smaller tasks within this bigger idea of creating a song, where you can come together and converge at points, brainstorm together, bounce ideas off of each other, get some real-time feedback and response, like, oh, what do you think about this? Or how does this sound? Or do you like this line? And then actually go off and maybe say, okay, you write the chorus, I'll focus on the verse. Or if you give me some melodic inspiration from an instrument, then I'll start writing some lyrics. So there are so many different ways for you both to create an energy exchange between each other, and don't let that be limited to only one person. If there's a group of you, then that can be really fun and exciting as well, because it's more ideas, more energy into the pot, and it gives everyone an opportunity to contribute and create this patchwork or tapestry of a song and string it together, stitch it together, and create something that you just would not have otherwise been able to do by yourself. And perhaps there is somebody that you would like to collaborate with that has a strength where you might have a weakness. So perhaps you're not very good on the technical side of things or recording. You want to keep a log of this somehow, like you want to film it or record it even on your phone if you don't have access to equipment. But maybe you've got a friend who is really good at making graphics or putting videos together, and they might be a good person to collaborate with. They don't necessarily have lots to contribute in the music department, but they can certainly inspire and add to your creative project. So don't limit yourself, I would say, in terms of who you draft in, because it might be somebody whose discipline or interest actually lies in another subject, but they might be somebody that is full of stories, that is really inspiring to be around, and maybe even just having a discussion or planning session with someone like that, that may open many doors and create many branches to your creative ideas. So the first step is really just to reach out and ask someone and try and get over the barrier of being worried about whether they'll say no or not, because usually if people don't have time, they'll say, I'm sorry, I can't do that, or it's not really my thing, I'm not interested. So that is your task to find someone that you think you might be able to create some creative artifact with, a song, a story, some kind of composition. And yes, I would be really interested to see if you have managed to collaborate with anyone, and please do send me some submissions if you want some feedback or you just want to share, and I'll be really, really happy to look at them. Feedback and sharing. Why are these things important? When we open a space for someone to engage with, interact, listen to, or look at something that we have created, it's quite often a nerve-wracking process, and it really brings us into this awareness of, we start looking at our own work through the eyes of somebody else. And that can be really, really useful in terms of thinking about an audience, if that is important to what we're creating, like if it's something for somebody. And also in terms of how we present something, being able to look at it and decide whether we have communicated our idea clearly enough and whether it makes sense to someone, if it needs to make sense to them, or maybe it is just some sound or just some drawing and we just want to engage with the feeling that we get when we share something and someone doesn't say that they like it or they dislike it, but they say, oh, thank you for allowing me to experience that. And it can be really rewarding. And the process of doing this and the benefits of that far outweigh, I would say, any negative or challenging experience that you may face, because for every person that says, oh wow, that is brilliant and I really like what you've done, there might be someone who says, no, it's not my cup of tea, or it's not really up my street, I don't really like that kind of style. Or there might be somebody that has a little bit less candor that says, oh, that's rubbish, and I think the negative response is something that most of us on some level have a little bit of anxiety about, but it depends how we respond to that, whether we can use that for our progression and development, or whether we think, okay, right, why did I do that? I feel so stupid, I'm never going to share anything with anyone again. And that would be really sad. So here's how you can make it work for you in the quality of asking for feedback. So if we are bringing a song or a story or a painting or anything to a friend or a family member and saying, oh, I've got something that I want to share with you, it can be really helpful for you to decide first, do I want feedback? Assuming that you might share something with someone and not ask them for feedback, but they might give it to you anyway, and it could be good or it could be bad. But if you've decided that you just want to share and that you don't want to receive advice, then make sure that you express that to someone so that there's not any uncomfortable or embarrassing moments where someone says, oh, I really like this bit, but there was that part of it that I didn't quite get, and then you feel upset and wounded because you didn't want that, you weren't ready to receive that criticism, and you don't want that to disrupt your friendship. But hopefully whoever you're sharing with will be someone that you resonate with and someone that's understanding, and maybe you feel you don't need to set that boundary beforehand, but it's just worth to mention. That can be useful. And in that process of deciding, do I want feedback, do I not want feedback, or saying, what do you think of this, you need to decide for yourself, to what extent am I going to take that feedback on board? The person that I'm sharing this with, does their opinion really, really, really matter to me? Where do I place value in that person's opinion? Maybe it's somebody that I really respect, that I really like. Maybe it's someone who creates art of their own and you really like what they do and you want some advice or response from them based on their creative practice. Or maybe it's a sibling or a parent, a member of your family, and you just kind of feel called to share with them and you want them to understand more about your creative life, or what you do with music, especially if you haven't really shared that before. It can be a really nice experience to sit down with people and be like, oh, I've been working on this thing and do you want to listen, or maybe I can play a song for you, or so yeah, thinking about that is definitely important, because we also want to set some kind of limit within ourselves, so that, say you do share something and somebody says, oh, I really, really like this part, but that part just doesn't work at all. And maybe if it's a safe space to talk about it and you feel this person is good to springboard ideas with and discuss it, you can say, oh, like, what is it that doesn't work? Or you can start to unpack it. Maybe you can take some notes and some feedback. But then you might also really take what they've said to heart and think, oh my goodness, like that part of the song just, oh, it's a total mess, and I'm just going to completely throw that one out with the trash, and I'll keep that first bit, but the second bit is just, no, I'll get rid of it. And then later down the line, we're kind of trying to work on our song, and then there's something that's just not gelling for us, and then we think, oh, but there was that line that I really, really liked, but I've got rid of that now and I can't remember what it was, and we start to feel upset about something that we've changed or let go of. So it's really a question of your own convictions, like the thing that you're going to share. How important is it to you? Is it in the early stages of an idea? Is it a finished artifact? Do you want to share it just to let someone else know what you're up to? Are you looking for advice? Is there a limit to how much advice you'll take? These are all really important things to bear in mind when it's just your projects that you're creating for yourself, for your enjoyment and for fun. Obviously, if you are creating something to be assessed, or if it's for some kind of work thing, then there will be a different set of rules, but it's really important for you to find a place that you feel comfortable with and set those rules for yourself if there aren't any already in place. And hopefully that will allow you to feel more secure and more open about the prospect of asking someone to listen or to look at something that you have done. And I would say those same frameworks are important to have in place when we're in a process of collaboration with anybody, because ultimately collaboration creates a playing field for equal opportunities between different people. And maybe you agree between yourself and the other players or creators how a percentage, like you work on that, I'll work on this, we'll divide it up. And it's not always going to be equal. So these are also things to bear in mind when you are working with other people who might have completely different ideas and perspectives or experiences, just so that the whole process can be a lot more relaxed and it's easier to have your needs accommodated and to accommodate other people's needs as well. So the benefits of sharing and feedback within this context of creating work and allowing that to be shared with others gives us tools that can support us in other spaces and in other situations too. So yeah, I hope some of this has been useful for you and look forward to seeing you again.